Hello, good evening, and a very warm welcome to Saints Live. I'm Kenzie Benali.
And I'm Steve Forbes.
And a very happy new year to you too. Yes, we're back for the first time in 2023 for the first meeting between Southampton and Nottingham Forest since the 2011-2012 campaign. Both teams very much needing a win this evening. And to keep us company throughout the game and afterwards as well, of course, is former Saints captain Dean Hammond and Daily Mail football reporter Adrian Kajumba. Welcome both. Great to see you. Happy New Year to you. Adrian, how are you? It's been some time since we've seen you.
It is. Very sorry about that. Just work demands have kept me away, but I'm very pleased to be back. So thanks for having me again.
Oh, delighted to be having your company throughout the evening. And Dean, how are you doing? How was your New Year's?
Very good, very quiet, Kenzie, which was nice. But Happy New Year to everyone, and looking forward to a fresh start for everyone tonight, and looking forward to a positive performance from Southampton.
Most definitely. Well, it's great to see you both, as always. Now, the team news will be coming up in under 15 minutes' time. There's no fresh injury concerns that we're aware of. Sam Edozie did come off on Saturday, but should be involved tonight. Dean, how do you expect Southampton to line up this evening? And also, what formation do you think Nathan Jones will choose?
It's a great question, Steve. And that will be a point of the discussion, I'm sure. But I think he will go to a back four. I don't think he'll stick with the back three, just because of the positive reaction and response in the second half at Fulham, and the way that Southampton control possession more in that shape. Whether he'll go a 4-4-2 or a 4-3-3 or a 4-5-1, I think that's to be seen. I think there will be changes again. I'd like to see Stuart Armstrong come back into the team. I really would. I would actually like to see Adam Armstrong come back into the team, just for that pace that he has. Early in the season when he was playing on the left-hand side, Adam, I thought he had a real impact on the game. Almost took that goal-scoring responsibility away from him, but he was creative. He was causing teams problems. I'd like to see that. Lavia to come back into the team. I think, with him coming on for the last 5 to 10 minutes at Fulham, I'd like to see his introduction again. He's such an important player for Southampton. Even at a young age, he's had such a big influence on the team and the club since he's been. So I'm looking forward to him coming back into the team. Pero at left back, I think, would give that balance again. So really interesting. I think there will be changes. And also looking at the team, I think Shelester Shah coming back in, I think that would be good. With his experience, his ability, I'd like to see him come back in. I think that would have a good effect on Better Kotchap as well. So I think it will be a back four, Steve. But where it will be a 4-3-3 or a 4-4-2, I'm not too sure. But looking forward to seeing and intrigued to see what Nathan picks tonight.
Adrian, how do you expect Southampton to line up this evening?
Yeah, I echo a lot of what Dean said there. Obviously, Nathan Jones has preferred a sort of back three, back five, depending on how you look at it, for the majority of his time so far. But I do think tonight might just be one of those nights to switch to a four. Obviously, as Dean said, off the back of Fulham at the weekend, but also maybe just to get an extra body further forward, whether that's in midfield or right up the top of the pitch. I don't know. I just feel it's a night that Saints really have to go for it, be positive on the front foot, and obviously if you change to that back four, that does give you that option to do that. Dean mentioned a few of the names, Lavia in particular, depending on how Nathan Jones wants to manage his minutes, sort of bringing him back and getting him back up to fitness. But I think that'll be, again, talking about positivity. If the team news drops in a few minutes and he's on there, send a good message and positivity sort of around the ground where you are. And Stuart Armstrong, again, was one of the names I was thinking of as well, maybe to come in. So, and Perot as well, just, natural width down that left-hand side, get him up and down that flank as well. So I think there's scope for Nathan Jones to make a few changes that will just send out the right message sort of from the beginning.
Yeah, well, let's reflect on our last game for a few moments. A defeat on Saturday away at Fulham, Dean. Obviously a disappointing result, but there were positives to take from the performance overall.
There was, Steve. I think we could see progress. I think there was an improvement in the performance from the Brighton game. Chances early on from Southampton. I think there was more aggression in the performance, more desire from the players, a more collective team effort. And I think the team deserved more than they got. I think they deserved at least a a point. I think they were unfortunate to lose the game. They responded really well to going 1 goal down. Change of shape in the second half. A goal from James Ward-Prowse, which I think will do his confidence a world of good. I mentioned before, Lavia coming on the pitch, Bella Kocha coming back into the team, Cole Walker-Peters getting more minutes under his belt and getting up to speed. He needs to get that sharpness back. So there was an improvement. There's still things to work on, but I think Nathan mentioned it. In open play, he was happy with the performance defensively. I thought Southampton looked like had more energy. They were able to get the ball back quicker. And in the second half, had real moments of dominating possession and causing Fulham some problems. No real clear-cut chances in the second half, but a much better improved performance. But the disappointment will come, obviously, from the result. And the result is the most important thing. But with improved performances week on week, time and time, Southampton will get better. So it was good to see. Disappointment in the result, as we spoke on after the show, but some players put in some good performances and better performances, and I felt as though we could see a little bit of identity, a bit of progress, and I believe Nathan spoke about that this week or after the game, but Southampton need to start winning games and find a way of winning games. But I think I touched on it a lot. If you can continually perform well, I believe the results will come. So there was progress and there was improvements, and hopefully that continues tonight.
Well, Nathan Jones said that he felt Southampton defended well in open play, but Adrian, he wasn't quite so pleased with how we defended set pieces. Is that a fair comment for you?
Yeah, I think so. For a manager, I'm sure losing games is going to be frustrating, full stop, and then obviously losing them to set pieces as well. I imagine. Additionally, because there's a lot that cannot be controlled in a game of football. You can't fully control set pieces, but at least you get a pretty good idea of what some teams are going to do, routines they've got. You can do the research, etc. And in the case of Fulham, there's 8 goals from corners they had before Saturday. So to then get a couple more, seeing the first one there, Andres Pereira, and I think there was another teammate had to his left who was free on the edge of the box. If you already know about Fulham's threat from corners, and then Andreas Pereira, his shooting ability as well, his technical ability. So to concede from that route is going to be frustrating. And then the winning goal as well from Paolini, I think that's a routine that Fulham have sort of either scored from or certainly threatened from before already this season. So when you do have the ability before a game and in your build-up, as Nathan Jones and his coaching staff would have had, to warn players, to run your players through sort of dangerous scenarios that could crop up in a game, and then you still concede from them, you can obviously understand the frustration on his part.
Well, let's hear from the boss now. Here's what Nathan Jones had to say after that game at Fulham.
Watching about the midfield today, and Moy kind of sitting in the middle there, and actually looked really good, really positive. Were you pleased with that change that you made there in the midfield?
Well, look, I thought the level of performance was good today, coming away to Fulham and to limiting to them, and they're a very fluent side with some real good individuals. Mitrovic was limited to very, very little, and he's a top striker. Willian, these people have all, Pereira, all these people have been fantastic for him, and they've been a high-scoring team. And today it took 2 set plays to beat us, and that's the frustrating thing, because if we just defend our box better, we either win that game or get something from it, and that's a real tough thing to take today.
On a return from Romeo Lavia out here, a small one right at the end there, but positive signs to see him coming back as well.
Yeah, look, there's a lot of young players in the side, a lot of players with talent and everything, and real top-end talent, and we have to make sure that we look after those. We could have pushed Romeo today, but if he breaks down again, he's only made 7 appearances this year, and we want him to play and to affect games far, far more. But in terms of the organisation, in terms of how we were today, I'm really pleased with the levels of performance, but absolutely devastated at the manner in which we've conceded.
Nathan Jones speaking after defeat to Fulham there. Now, Dean, how did you assess Moy Elyounoussi's performance in that game? Because we saw him play more defensively alongside Prowse in the first half and then move up into his more natural position in the second.
I thought he was excellent, Steve. I'd love to see his running stats, if I'm honest. He put so much effort and energy into his performance. Like you say, in the first half, he was really competitive, winning tackles, the desire when he was recovering, the will to win the ball back, which you need if you're playing centrally as a central midfield player. And then he had that bit of quality. If you see his ball through for Shay Adams, really good awareness. It's a great run from Shay, and unfortunately Shay couldn't put that chance away. Otherwise, it would have been an excellent start for Southampton. But Elenisu gets into some really good positions, attacking wise. It's quite intelligent in that respect. And then he recovered really, really well. Like again here, which we're seeing from the highlights. Apologies, my dog's barking in the background. I do apologise for that. But yes, I think he can play that role, and he's very versatile. He can either play wide. He's a manager's dream, really, because of that versatility. He can play wide, he can play centrally. And I think he's getting better on the ball. His awareness in tight situations, as we're seeing, he's part of winning the free kick for Prowse's equaliser. And he's a real team player. And again, in this chance, unselfishness, could maybe take that shot on with his left foot, but he knows Stuart Armstrong is behind him. A lovely bit of skill with kind of a Cruyff turn pass. So yeah, he's getting better and better, Steve. And I think he's been one of the highlights of the season, and one of the highlights since Nathan's come in. He's really, really committed, and you have to commend him for that. If he could add some goals to his performances, would be brilliant, because he gets in some dangerous situations. He really, really does. And his finishing at times can let him down, but he put in a really diligent performance.
Yeah, your dog is clearly a Moy fan as well, Dean, which is always great to see. I'd love to get your thoughts, Adrian, on Romeo Lavia. Nathan Jones just spoke about him a moment ago. Obviously, we saw him feature for the final few moments against Fulham. Just how important could he be for Southampton in the coming months?
Yeah, hugely. He's been a big miss this season, obviously due to that hamstring injury. He was sort of shaping up at the start of the season to basically this season's Tino Livramento. Credit to the club, the way they sort of went after him, a player who hadn't played sort of senior football before, but they could see the ability. They got the deal done, and he's into the team straight away, and he's making a big impact. As I said, like Livramento last season, people in the game who know him, who've seen him, speak so highly about him. We saw the all-round ability that he's got in midfield. Yes, he's a holding midfielder, but very good on the ball as well. And to see and how they got the goal against Chelsea, a good example of it. If Southampton can keep him fit second half of the season, will be a massive boost for the club, for the team. Just think what he brings in that area, as I mentioned, with the all-round ability that he adds to the team. He's obviously managed to get some minutes at Liverpool, Newcastle, and later on against Fulham. It's just about whether Nathan Jones thinks tonight is the night to sort of chuck him in from the start and build up that sort of momentum and the minutes that he's been able to give him.
Yeah, I mean, if there's one player, Dean, that fans really want to see back in 2023, it's Tino Livramento. Now, he's been pictured taking part in some light training, and a really important player that we want to see back on the field.
So important, Steve. Since he's come to the football club, and last year he had some real inspirational performances. Adrian's just touched on it there with Lavia. I think we have to be patient and wait until he's fully fit, because we don't want a reoccurrence of that injury or setting him back, whether that's he's coming on in games or whether he starts or not. But I mean, what a player! He has everything as a young player. We're blessed at this football club with having two fantastic right backs, but Livramento just gives you a little bit more, I think, personally. He's a little bit more direct. He's a little bit quicker, and his game was improving all the time. He was creating chances defensively. He's good in one-on-one situations. He's committed in his tackles, we can see. And like I say, the one bit I really like, he's really direct. If he gets that half a yard, he believes in himself, and he'll try and take someone on, and he'll try and make things happen. So a brilliant player, but it will take him some time when he comes back. We can't necessarily expect these type of performances straight away, but when he's up to speed and when he's fully fit again, I'm excited. I really, really am, and I'm sure Nathan's excited. I'm sure the fans are excited to see him come back.
Yeah, I'm sure they will be. Now, there's just a matter of seconds until the team news comes out. Maybe we can get a couple of comments in. Martina Fletcher says, "Come on, you Reds." Also, Stephen Townsend, "Good evening from Basingstoke." And Gail Sampson says, "Come on, Saints, the only way is up."
Yes, indeed. Great to hear from the fans there. But the team news is out hot off the press. So let's take a look at that now, shall we? 3 changes from Fulham. Perrault, Lavia and Mara come into the side with Maitland-Niles, Adozie and Joe Aribo missing out on that starting 11. So let's run through that 11 in full, shall we? In goal is Gavin Bazunu. At the back, Mohamed Salisu, Armel Bella-Kotchap and Lianco, with wing-backs Carl Walker-Peters and Roman Perrault. In the midfield, our captain James Ward-Prowse and the return of Romeo Lavia. Then it's Moi Elianusi and Sekou Mara and Shay Adams leading the line. The Saints substitutes then are as follows: Willie Caballero, Ainsley Maitland-Niles, Duje Saleta-Sarr, Ibrahima Diallo, Musa Gineppo, Stuart Armstrong, Sam Adozie, Joe Aribo and Adam Armstrong. Adrian, we'll come to you first to get your thoughts then. I mean, firstly, I guess, how good is it to see Romeo Lavia back amongst that starting 11 and Sekou Mara up top too?
Excellent. In terms of Lavia, obviously, we spoke about the ability, the impact he had in the performances he was able to sort of put for his injury. So that's obviously a huge boost to see him back in the team, and obviously see him fit enough in the interview with Nathan Jones to be able to start. So that's excellent. Mara's good. You know, again at the top of the show, we sort of spoke about maybe a night for intent, go for it. So to see Mara in there as well is also good. You know, we discussed whether it might be a change of shape, but Nathan Jones has stuck with what he knows, what he's preferred. But there's some nice changes in there. Perrault as well. Dean and I both spoke about getting him back in. So yeah, it's a positive team. So fingers crossed it works out tonight for Nathan and Southampton.
And Dean, what's your thoughts on that starting 11 to take on Nottingham Forest in a hugely important game tonight?
Yeah, I'm just looking at Kenzie and just looking at the different options within that selection. I think, like you say, it will be a 3 at the back or a 5. But good to see Lavia back. I think it will be interesting to see what impact and influence he can have on the game. Defensively, without the ball, he's very, very good at winning the ball back. Positionally, he's very, very good. And we know his qualities in possession of the football. Again, I think he allows James Ward-Prowse to be a more effective player as well, which is great, with Prowse scoring at the weekend as well. And then Mara coming in. You know, when Mara came to the football club, there was huge expectations for him. I remember him coming on against Leeds and that wonderful pass and assist that he had. So we know he has the ability. So interesting to see how they line up. Perrault coming back in gives the balance again, like Adrian said, which is great because he's been very, very good this season. Probably a little bit unfortunate to not be in the team, but that could have been a tactical decision, or maybe he had a little bit of an injury. So yeah, I think there's good balance to the side. And looking forward to seeing what they can create tonight. And hopefully it can be a special win for Southampton tonight.
Yeah, hopefully. Well, let's see what the fans are saying at home, watching in around the globe on YouTube. Stephen O'Neill has said he thinks it's going to be 2-1 to Southampton tonight. A big win is needed. Let's go. Also, Scott Charlton on YouTube says, come on, you mighty, in capital letters, Saints. Tara Jade Anstey says, Lavia needs to start for us tonight. Well, you've got your wish there, Tara. Also, Mark Paul thinks it's going to be 3-1 to Southampton tonight. Steve Perkins on YouTube says this is a must-win game. A few must-win games in here as well. And also, Lithernick92 on YouTube says, I'm skiving off work to watch this tonight, so it better be worth it. I'm sure it will be. Now, Adrian, James Ward-Prowse, well, he scored his first free kick of the season against Fulham. Hopefully, that'll give him a bit of a kickstart now, because we all want to see him return to that form that he's shown over the last couple of years.
Definitely, I think he's probably one of the players whose form may have sort of suffered in conjunction with the team, really. You know, we've all watched James Ward-Prowse down the years. We know he's got no issue being the sort of go-to guy for the team, but I guess with that, you know, it's almost difficult to maintain those sort of high standards all the time when you are sort of one of the players that the team relies on and the form dips. And I think as well, you know, Dean mentioned there about Romeo Lavia being missing. He would have been, you know, I'm sure James Ward-Prowse loved playing alongside him at the start of the season, someone to share that responsibility for everything that needs, all that work that he's doing in midfield, to have somebody who's, you know, equally as adept on the ball and sort of protecting the team. You know, the two players that can really sort of combine well. You know, I think we saw that some of that at the start of the season. So then when Lavia drops out of the team, it's all that responsibility again on James Ward-Prowse. So to see Lavia back in, I'm sure James is delighted about that. Surprised it's obviously taken him so long, December the 31st in the season until he gets his first free kick, but he's got one now. So hopefully that's just a springboard for him for the rest of the season.
Well, before we come on to speaking about tonight's opponents, we should, of course, mention the fact, as I did at the top of the show, that Southampton and Nottingham Forest don't meet very often. Dean, in fact, you were actually on the pitch the last time Nottingham Forest visited St Mary's. It ended in a 3-2 win for Southampton, a pretty dramatic one. What's your memories from that day?
I remember it actually being a really tough afternoon, Kenzie. We obviously won the game 3-2. But to that point, Nottingham Forest were struggling in terms of their position in the league, but they were a good team, really good team. Had some good players. Andy Reid, I think Wes Morgan was still there. Jonathan Greening was there. So they had a good footballing team. Steve McLaren was manager, I believe, at the time. We went behind, but I think we were only behind for about 60 seconds. And then that combination of David Connolly and Ricky Lambert, they were such a brilliant partnership at the start of that season. And I think as well, it was a record 12th win in a row at home, I think as well. So a tough game, a really, really tough game against a good Nottingham Forest team. But when you've got a player like Ricky Lambert up front, it always seems a little bit easier. And, the bravery he scores for that goal to go 2-1 up was fantastic. And there was a really good atmosphere, I think, at the ground that day. And there was a little bit of belief and momentum growing. I think we were probably 6 or 7 games into the season, second or third or top of the table. But it was brilliant. And the winning goal comes from a really good Danny Fox delivery and a set-piece routine that we worked really hard on in training. And actually, if I remember the set pieces rightly, it should have been me on the end of that header because Ricky Lambert should have been blocking for me, but I don't think he did his job at the time because he probably believed he could score, and rightly so, because I'm sure I would have put it over the bar. So we'll let him take his hat-trick, but, Ricky was fantastic that season. He was fantastic every season for Southampton, but a brilliant player and in his first season at that level as well. So there was question marks over him and a lot of us, really. But we went on to have a brilliant season. But Nottingham Forest were a real test that day. Really strong team, but we passed that test and went on to have, a memorable season.
Well, as we've just seen, Ricky Lambert scored a hat-trick in that match. And Adrian, you must have watched quite a bit of Ricky when you were working down this way. What did you make of his incredible career going through the leagues and then obviously eventually playing for England?
Yeah, I think firstly, it's sort of like an overall comment. So what a player, what a striker, what a talisman he was for the club is kind of interesting looking back, thinking back to that time. In some ways, the deal would have seemed an obvious one when Saints sort of dropped into League One. They'd just been taken over to go and get the sort of best striker at that level. He was top scorer the season before with Bristol Rovers, I think 29 goals. But at the same time, on the flip side of that, he'd only been playing sort of that kind of level. So to then see what he went on to do at the higher levels, firstly in League One and then carry on in the Championship, in the Premier League, then go on to England. It's an unbelievable sort of story, really, sort of fairy tale almost. And then to end up back at the club and let him go. When, as I said, play for England, you go through sort of the 117 goals he scored, and I think there's pretty much every type of finish in there. I'm not even going to list them off, other than to say you go through them, and he's basically the complete striker in terms of the variety of finishes that he's got. I think the only one that was missing was maybe some acrobatics in his time. The volley at MK Dons, I think you saw that in the clip earlier on. That's one of my favourites when he chested that down smashes it in from about 40 yards. The goal at Man City must have been a great moment for him to sort of reach that top level and sort of score in the Premier League at Man City. I mentioned about his career. There's been a few players in recent years who've been a great example to younger players about not giving up. Your chance will always come. And I think Ricky Lambert is sort of in that category of player. And credit to Southampton for sort of picking him up, the people that are involved in the deal at the time, because he's a massive figure in the club's history.
Yeah, he certainly is a very special player for sure. Well, back to tonight's game though, Dean. 20th taking on 18th. I mean, these 3 points this evening, very important. How important would they be? And, you know, is this a must-win game? Can we label it that?
I think it gets as close as you possibly can, Kenzie. And I think it's just, I think what it would do, it would really help the atmosphere, the morale within the dressing room, the belief and the confidence within the dressing room. And I think it would help build the relationship with the players and the manager. With Nathan coming in, there needs to be that build of trust, and that comes from results. Nathan will be trying to put new messages across to the players, new philosophy, new ideas, and the players will be listening to that and trying to learn from that. But that gets increased and justified when you do get results. So I think it's needed for everyone. The obvious, obviously, it potentially could take Southampton out of the bottom three tonight, which would be a big boost. And would take us level on points with Everton, which is our next Premier League fixture. So again, that's really, really important. And obviously we could go up ahead of Nottingham Forest. So I think it's a really important game. And I want to see that progression again, that progress that the team's starting to show. And if we get that again, I'm confident that there's a result in there. And because the players have proved it. They've proved it at this level for a long, long time now. They've proved it this season. We're just Southampton just in a challenging moment at this time, but there were some real positives from the weekend. And if you take that into tonight against a vulnerable Nottingham Forest team, you know, they've improved of late, but they're new to this league. They're a squad that's still learning and still developing. So this is an opportunity for Southampton tonight. And if we play with that energy, that tempo, that belief, and we get an atmosphere at St Mary's, and everyone contributes, then I believe there's 3 points for Southampton tonight.
Dean calls them vulnerable, but what do you make of Nottingham Forest as a team, Adrian? Just one defeat in their last 5 games in all competitions, but have lost to fellow strugglers Wolves, Bournemouth and Leicester this season.
Yeah, and I think in terms of tonight as well, another thing that's quite important is they've been far better at home than they have been sort of away from home, which is, you know, that's sort of something in Southampton's favour tonight ahead of the game. Not won a league game away from home, the only team in the Premier League not to have done that, only scored 1 goal as well. So that kind of points to one where they're getting most of their points and also where their struggles have been this year. Obviously, well documented the amount of players they brought in the summer, over 20 players. Been criticised for that, they have, but I think on the flip side, some of that work they had to do because the amount of players they lost from the squad they had last season, they got them up. So some of it was understandable, but ultimately that then makes it difficult for the manager, Steve Cooper, to build a squad, to build some consistency, the unity within his team. You wonder how many of those players the ones he wanted and how many of them are the ones that the club wanted. And I think where they are in the league sort of points to some of the difficulties that they've had moulding and gelling a group and a team out of all the players that came in the summer. There's a bit of a lack of quality in some departments at Forest, which Southampton will obviously hope to take advantage of tonight. So it's a really big opportunity to get 3 points and get things sort of kick-started under Nathan Jones.
Yeah, most definitely is. Well, before we go to your final thoughts and your score predictions, we'll go to the fans one last time to see what they're saying. Ryan Ackland on YouTube has said, I can see Carl Walker-Peters getting a goal tonight. I just have that feeling. Max Nizialek has said he's happy with Sekou Mara starting. Daniel Smith on Facebook says, let's sing loud and let's sing proud. When the Saints go marching in. James on YouTube says, today is a must-win. And one final one here from Watts on YouTube, who says he's quietly predicting a 3-0 win.
Oh, okay. Well, that's what the fans think. But Dean, Adrian, time to come for you for your final thoughts. Nottingham Forest have scored just 1 goal away from home all season, Dean. Conceded 22. With all of that in mind, how do you see tonight playing out?
Well, it's a perfect time for Southampton then to keep their first clean sheet, or the clean sheet for a long time, and for Southampton to get a win tonight. Look, there's some pressure on the game, but I think pressure can create a positive performance as well. I'm looking forward to that tonight, and I think it will be brilliant for everyone. if Southampton can play, like I mentioned, with that energy, with that belief, on that front foot, press Nottingham Forest, create opportunities, show that desire and that effort that they showed at times away at Fulham at the weekend, then there can be some real success for Southampton tonight. So I'm going to go for a 2-0 win, and I'm going to go for a Mara goal as well.
Okay, certainly like the sound of that one, Dean. Well, Adrian, let's come to you for your thoughts. I mean, Nottingham Forest won just 2 points on the road this season, fewer than any other Premier League team. How do you see tonight playing out?
Yeah, partly because of things like that. I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling optimistic. I think there are sort of certain games that, when you're in the situation Southampton are in, you look at, and they are must-win, as we've spoken about. They're a chance to sort of springboard, to use that word again, as when I was speaking about James Ward-Prowse, and I think this falls into that category. I think Nathan Jones, one of his qualities is as a motivator. And I think this is going to be one of those nights when he's got the team up for it. They're going to be well aware of the importance of tonight, the need for a result, how important the game is. And as I said, I'm feeling confident. I'm feeling optimistic. I'd go 3-1 win.
Good stuff. Well, Adrian, Dean, lovely to speak to you again this evening. We'll see you afterwards. Well, kick-off, here at St Mary's is less than 45 minutes away. A much-needed 3 points for Southampton could lift the Saints off the bottom of the table if other results go their way. We're going to be back anyway after on the final whistle for all the post-match reaction and analysis. Do enjoy the match, and we'll see you then.
Bye for now.